Eagles got back on a winning track with a 28-22 win against the Vikings in week 7. We just saw the Vikings lose to the Chargers, so they're on a bit of a skid. But before they got to Los Angeles, they lost to the Eagles 28-22. What were your takeaways from this one?
This was a hard one to watch. I currently own 3 Carson Wentz jerseys. I have 1 Stitch jersey, and it is a Carson Wentz jersey. There's a lot of love that Carson Wentz has for us. He said post-game or the day before the game, I don't know a lot of those guys anymore. Like, it's a whole different staff. There's a lot of different guys on there. So the relationships aren't really there anymore. But to say that, you could say that he still played for the Eagles on Sunday, throwing 2 picks. This game was a bounce-back game that we needed. Coming off of a game where we just talked about the Broncos. We were up big, and they had a fourth-quarter comeback, just like they did against the Giants. Not as big of a lead, but they came back. And then for us to go and get our ass kicked 4 days later in MetLife, coming in this game, 10 days of rest, this is exactly the performance I was expecting. Jalen Hurts, only one quarterback to have perfect passer rating, and it was Jalen Hurts. We heard a lot of shit said about Jalen Hurts after that Giants game. He can't throw. He's throwing interceptions. Jalen Hurts is not that guy. Shaun, when I tell you, well, when the Eagles lose, I am getting shit from Cowboys fans, from Niner fans, from Saints fans, everybody.
You're under attack.
I lost it last week or 10 days ago, that Thursday. And everyone's just sitting there. They're eating me out. They're eating me in. And then I say something, and all I can send is a picture of the ring. And they go, oh, we all know Kevin. He's upset. He's just going back to the ring. And it's just like, damn, like, people have been waiting 20-plus games to get on me. And it's like when they're getting on me, like, I haven't felt this in a while. So when they come hard. And it's like, it was 2 words that I said probably 100 times that day. I was like, there's a lot of Michael Phelps in the chat, a lot of swimmers. With the last team the Niners won, there's a lot of people in the group chat that were swimming around. They didn't even watch with their own 2 eyes. They were swimming around in their dad's nutsack, and they were screaming at me. But, Michael Phelps. So we have a lot of those. But getting back to the game, this was a game we needed. We need to get our guys the ball. I know everyone sends me the tweets. Toddy sends it to me every day. A.J. Brown said this. A.J. Brown said that. For him to come out there and go for 4 for 121 with 2 touchdowns, one of them being the game sealer, at cherry on top. And then we were finally able to connect with Smitty down the field for 79 yards, the longest touchdown of his career, to go along with 9 catches for 183 yards and the touchdown, like I mentioned. This offense is getting clicking. The Eagles play so much better after a loss. So it's nice to know that our team is able to bounce back. Jalen Hurts, like I said, only quarterback in NFL this season have a perfect passer rating. But all these great things I'm saying about this offense, I have to get on here and say we have to figure out this fucking run game. For the past 4 or 5 years, you look up best offensive lines, Eagles are in the top 3. This year we ranked 27. And it shows. We got guys falling down. We got guys hurting themselves. And a big piece of that is that we were hoping Tyler Steen could step up in Mekhi Becton's place. And as good as he's been playing on that right side, we have a play caller that is predictable. We run the same plays over and over and over, and everybody knows it. So in order for us to win games this year, we're going to have an MVP performance out of Jalen Hurts week in and week out. Can we do it? Hell yeah. Dallas Goedert's a top 5 tight end. We have the best duo on the outside in the world. We have the weapons to do it. We have to figure it out. Jalen Carter, thank you so much for finally showing up to the game. He had a pressure that ended up in a pick. We need to get Jalen Carter going. And I think the biggest thing that I took away from this game is that Nakobe Dean is going to get a lot of money this summer, and it's not going to be from the Eagles, unfortunately. We're not going to be able to pay him. But for him to come in after an ACL tear and dominate the way he did, allowing us to put Jahad Campbell on the edge, because we've had a horrible production out of the edge rushers. We saw that with how he went and got Quinyon and Coop. He then had this mentality that he can turn any young guy into a stud. Jalix Hunt, I know he had a pick 6 that game, but he has been mediocre. Nolan Smith's been playing very well, but he's been hurt. We got a lot of guys in free agency that we just got on 1-year prove-it deals to think that they can come in and have the impact of a Josh Sweat, of a Milton Williams. We haven't had that impact yet. we saw Zadarius Smith retire, and unfortunately, Kaz, I know you're here. I don't know how you feel about Brandon Graham coming back, but I absolutely hate that he's coming back and putting on pads. I think him coming and having a role in the defense, not as a player, brings a lot of energy. He's a guy that is a two-time champion. Lane Johnson is a two-time champion. So to have a guy like Brandon Graham in the room brings a lot of energy, brings a lot of confidence into that room. But Brandon Graham coming out of retirement tells me one thing. Nobody in the fucking world wants to help the Eagles. That means we couldn't get not one defensive end, one defensive tackle in the trade market because no one wants to help us win. Understandably so, when you're on top, people want to see you fall. So for us to have to revert to Brandon Graham, I don't know how this is going to play out. I'm knocking on wood. I'm praying every night that he gets to go out on not on top, but just gets to go out healthy, man. Like that was the biggest thing that he left saying, like, I'm happy that I walked away. Okay. And he's going to be able to give us a boost because we need that energy in that locker room. So I'm really looking forward to him being back. But as far as Carson Wentz go, man, it's time for JJ to come back. There was no one bigger than me that wanted him to kind of bring his career back to life. He now set a record for only quarterback in NFL history for 6 consecutive years to start on 6 different teams. We saw him come out here today. Shaun and I were talking about before the game, and basically a black arm cast. He's playing with one arm. This team has a lot to figure out. But taps off to the Eagles. We got a W, and now we get to play Jackson Dart again. So hopefully it's a different result than last time. Well, I'm hoping and praying coming into the league. A lot of quarterbacks can't do that. Brock Purdy. But, it's going to be something fun to see.
Yeah, and Kaz adds on Twitch, the Eagles play better when we are being attacked after a loss. I hope Nick Wright and Chris Sims and whoever takes the Giants to win this week. And then Kaz right. And then Kaz also adds on to what you were saying about Brandon Graham. He says, I want Graham just helps give the good guys proper rest and leadership. But you're right. And then one thing that Kaz added regarding the Vikings is, shit, around here, we have Vikings bars. My homeboys has Adam Thielen's phone number. They played together at MSU. I think that's pretty cool. And something I wanted to add from the unbiased perspective over here, not that everything you just said wasn't hitting the nail on the head, Kevin, but just from another perspective, is the Eagles' defense has been elite this season, as it has been for years. And a stat that I found is the Eagles' defense has only allowed 7 passing touchdowns, which is the second best in the league. Meanwhile, opposing quarterbacks are completing just 59.4% with a passer rating of 80.1, which is 4th lowest in the NFL. And this tweet also adds on, that's with Philly having played Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, and Baker Mayfield, 4 guys who all just so happen to be in the top 10 of the MVP race. And they add on, Vic Fangio is a mastermind. Shout out to @the Philly Special for that tidbit. And also something else to be noted is a lot of people like to say that the 49ers are all Christian McCaffrey. And the same could be said about the Eagles with Saquon Barkley. But yet the Eagles are 5-2, and Saquon Barkley has yet to surpass 100 rushing yards in a game this season. So it's kind of like one of those things where it's the more you know. And finally, with Jalen Hurts, when you compare him to the rest of the quarterbacks in the NFC East, when it comes to their last 500 pass attempts, Jalen Hurts is completing 70.2% of his passes for 4,060 yards, 29 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Dak Prescott, a little bit lower than that, 68%, 3,552 yards, 25 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Jaden Daniels, 65%, 3,430 passing yards, 29 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. So about 500 less passing yards for Jaden Daniels, 5% less. Same amount of touchdowns, 6 more interceptions, way less efficient. And then when it comes to Jackson Dart and the pace that he's on the pace to complete 60.2% of his passes, exactly 10% less than Jalen Hurts, which is a significant difference. 3,352 passing yards, which is about 700 yards less than Jalen Hurts. He's on pace for 30 touchdowns, which would be one more than Jalen Hurts, but that's just what he's on pace for. And he's on pace for 13 interceptions. So it's like Jalen Hurts is putting up numbers, and he's doing it in an efficient manner. It's like whatever people want to say about Jalen Hurts, the numbers just continue to prove them wrong time and time again. So whatever narrative people are trying to perpetuate when it comes to Jalen Hurts, he continues to prove them wrong, and the statistics back it up, because after all, this is stats over politics. So the Eagles, they look scary as ever. And Nick Bosa, Fred Warner aside, a team like the Eagles waiting for the 49ers later on in the postseason is another reason why I am not very confident to say that the 49ers are going to go on to win the Super Bowl this season. But as I said earlier, I'm just going to enjoy the ride for what it is. As
Before
we keep things moving,
Shaun, I wanted to come on
Go
here
ahead.
and congratulate the both of us. It took us 163 episodes for each of us to say something positive about the other person's team. 163 episodes. In that span, we have seen both of our teams go to the Super Bowl, lose, and then unhappily I was able to win one. But I don't think we'd ever had this kind of dialogue. So, it shows maturity out of us, Shaun. I know in our early days, we were really spiteful, but, in our old days, we're showing a little bit of wisdom. I like that. We're improving.
We sure are. And thank you for pointing that out, because that's a good point. It's healthy. It's healthy is what it is.
And it's funny this episode without Toddy. Because Toddy will go to the grave before he'll say something nice about us. Like, if he would have been here, like, oh, Kevin, you're lying. You're going to hit us with some kind of crazy stat to prove us wrong. But it's nice to show that, we're growing up.
For sure. And I mean, over the previous 162 episodes, I have done my fair share of hating just as much as you have. And it's like, all right, let's save that. Like, the way my mindset is on it is like, let's save that for when it's necessary. If our teams are going to play in the regular season, if our teams are going to play in the playoffs, then all right, that week and the week after can just be balls to the wall, hate. Yeah, but like at this point, we've done enough of that. So it's like, I mean, don't get me wrong. If the Eagles were stinking it up out there, I would let you know. And like we talked about the Eagles' loss against the Giants briefly last week when I was with Kaz, but he did most of the talking for me. And Kaz was a realist, and he shit all over the Eagles, deservingly so, after that poor performance on Thursday Night Football against the Giants. So there was nothing left for me to say. And so it's like, when it's appropriate, you will hate on the Niners, I'll hate on the Eagles. But there's no reason for us to be like digging just to try and find something to shit on. And so, yeah, I'm glad you. Yes, exactly. And thank you for pointing that out. And yeah, as you